Hi, how you doing? Dr. Kev here. Requested video today. I'm doing it in a hurry because I've got a lot of stuff to do today, so this is going to come out in one take, and we're just going to have to deal with it. How do we keep guitar strings quiet when we're strumming? Very important question. Not a question that has an easy answer either, because it really comes down to a simple fact. No two people have the same hands. No two people have the same body. No two people have exactly the same guitar. Everybody holds their guitar and plays slightly differently. People have different levels of double jointedness in their fingers. They hit the guitar certain ways and can do different things. You have to figure a lot of this out for yourself, but I'll show you what it is that you have to figure out for yourself, okay? And I can't make it any easier than that. That's just the simple truth of it. It's the same for all of my guitar students. There's a wonderful video, too, on the Guitar World YouTube channel, the John Petrucci Guitar Method thing. He actually talks specifically about this. And he says, yeah, there's no way to teach this. You've just got to figure it out. How do we keep strings quiet? It's a combination of this hand and this hand. Let's talk about the strumming hand first, okay? Here I am with the guitar pick. The example that somebody gave me when they requested the video was the D chord, D major chord, all right? There's a lovely D major chord. The D major chord on the guitar is something of a weird case in that the lowest D note I can play on the guitar doesn't qualify as a bass note. It's really not deep enough. It's not low enough, you know. And it's the D below middle C on the piano, and that's kind of in the middle of the piano. Clearly, it's not a bass note. So the D chord sometimes sounds a little thin on its own. Not thin as such, but doesn't have a bit of girth to it, you know. So in fact, very often people will play the A string as well as inside the D chord, and that sounds like this. Makes the D chord sound a little bit bigger and fuller. And we're allowed to do that, in fact, because the A note is part of the D chord. An A note exists inside every D major chord or every D minor chord, okay? So we're allowed to play that, and it's a note that works well in the bass of the chord. So that happens a lot. Sometimes people do the same thing on a C chord. Here's a C. And in the bass of the C chord, they'll play a G note, which makes it sound bigger and richer and deeper. On an A chord, sometimes we'll play the low E string. It does exactly the same job, okay? So that's one way around it. Sometimes there are adjacent strings that work particularly well within the chord that we're playing. Sometimes they don't, even if it's an allowed note within the chord. Take a look at the C chord again. Our C major chord contains C, E, and G. There's C, E, and G, C major, okay? So we know I can play a C note in the bass. We know I can play a G note in the bass. Let's play an E note in the bass. It works, but not as well, and sometimes it just muddies the sound up entirely. Especially on the guitar, the open E string wants to flap around a bit and goes out of tune kind of easily. So if it's not right spot on, it really doesn't always work that well. But there you go. So there are options. So that kind of eliminates some of the problem for us, all right? In terms of keeping some of the strings quiet when we're strumming, yeah, some of it is to do with this hand, and there's one thing I really want to talk to you about very much in this case, and that's the idea of closing your eyes and learning to feel your way around the guitar with this hand by seeing, if you like, through your fingertips and the tip of your guitar pick, okay? That is such an important thing. When we close our eyes, we shut off all the sensory input to our brain from our eyes, okay? And our brain is strongly, strongly wired to take into account mostly the sensory input from our eyes, okay? We're looking for predators around us. We are also social creatures, so we're looking for faces that we recognize. We are constantly, constantly looking for faces, it turns out. There's an entire part of our brain, I think, dedicated to just recognizing faces. When we close our eyes, an awful lot of that energy required by our brain to do all that stuff is kind of switched off. And that means that other parts of our brain that are responsible for our other senses get more brain time, and that's great. If you really want to improve your guitar playing, close your eyes and listen. Listen to what you're doing. When you close your eyes, you listen better. You hear details better. And we can feel things better, too, when we close our eyes. And that's just what I like to do. I like to close my eyes and feel the guitar strings. There's my low E string. There's my high E string. That's pretty easy to do. Already, I can guess where the D string is. Hey, there it is. Look, it's the D string. What do you know? You see? See how easy that was? That just came from practice. That just came from sitting down and doing it. And times when maybe I'm singing on stage, I have a microphone in front of me, I'm playing the guitar, I can't look down. I can't look down and see what my hand is doing. That means I've got to practice what I'm doing without having to look at it. And that helps to develop this. But it's something you can do. It comes in time, of course, but you can do it now. All right? As I'm doing this, even if I just let's sit here and strum. Okay, so there's my G chord. So there's a G chord. As I'm strumming, what am I feeling? I can feel the pickup selector switch against the back of my hand. I hit it accidentally. I can feel the pick guard here. I can feel the strings here on this part of my hand. Okay? I can feel with this fingertip, I feel sometimes the edge of the pickup or the low E string, or the high E string, excuse me. And that helps me orient myself. I know where I am. I can use the guitar pick. With the guitar pick, I am getting sensory information that tells me where the low E string is, what position it is, because this hand is moving around, so I know the low E string is here, because I can feel it there. Sometimes this part of the low E string I'm also feeling with the back of my hand. So there's a lot of information there that's helping my hand do this, okay? And that information helps me be more accurate in my strumming as well, and that's really important. There, for that D chord, I'm targeting the 3 highest strings, knowing full well that I probably can't avoid hitting the D string, but that's perfectly fine anyway. And the A string is playing in there, but you know what? It sounds okay. Keep hitting that selector switch. It's a new switch I put in. The switch is a little bit longer. I keep hitting it more. I have to cut the top of it off. Anyway, so that's part of the answer, but clearly it's not a very satisfactory part of the answer. Just get better with this hand. It's useful for us in strumming anyway. If I just mute the strings, the guitar is a percussive instrument, you know. We can hear the sound of the guitar pick on the strings. It's part of the sound of what a guitar does, whether it's acoustic guitar, electric guitar, whatever. It's part of the sound of the instrument. And sometimes in our rhythm playing, our strumming, it's useful to think of what we would do as a percussion player. Think of the drummer, for example. Where does the bass drum sit, and where does the snare drum sit in the rhythm? And we can add those kind of details to our rhythm playing. And literally there I am strumming on low notes for part of it, and I'm aiming at the high notes for another part of it. I'm not being too accurate about it. I don't have to, and it's not that necessary. The other thing, though, is that this hand, which we're going to talk about now, is doing a lot of the work of keeping strings quiet. If I just play a C chord, notice you're only hearing 4 strings. Not even 4. Holy crap. I got that wrong. 3 notes was all that was being played there. But did you notice how it didn't suck? Okay. Was it exactly what I intended? No. Okay, bad boy, Kev. All right, I need to practice that one. But the guitar, especially in the context of a band, often sounds a lot better and is more effective if we play fewer number of strings, okay? And that really helps, because there are other frequencies that are required by the other instruments. The bass drum and the bass guitar and keyboards too, they've got a lot of low notes. We don't need to be in their way. Leave that space open for them. The vocals take part of the mid-range, and the high frequencies are very often covered pretty effectively by the cymbals. We don't need to get in the way there either. The guitar has its own voice in the mid-range. That's where we're targeting. Taking the number of notes that we play in a chord and reducing it helps to clarify what we're doing. It makes the sound that we're after a little bit better. It means that we're less prone to issues with weird tuning, because our guitar does go out of tune from time to time. Playing 2 or 3 notes can be a great way of doing things like that. The classic riff from Smoke on the Water, a lot of people learn it as the big sort of power chord thing. Except it wasn't played that way. It was played with just 2 notes at a time. Okay? Lots of great ideas like that. Now there, finger picking with this hand, plucking. Which again eliminates a lot of the flappiness that we'd get from the guitar pick and helps to clarify the sound in the mix, makes room for the other instruments. That's an important point. So Part of the answer to how do we keep strings quiet is just try to play fewer number of strings. It's as easy as that. But this hand does so much work in that regard. When we first start playing the guitar and we're doing our basic open chords, our C's and G's and D's and A's and E's and all that, we're trying to make every note come out bright and clean and clear, of course. But then we reach a point where we don't want to do that. We actually want to keep things reasonably quiet. Let's look at a few examples. Let's look at C added 9 chord. It looks like a C chord on the low end, and it looks kind of like a G chord on the high end. So there's the C part, there's the G part. So I end up with, well, the G note is part of a C chord anyway, so that doesn't change anything. I've got a D note in here. The D is the 9 of C. C added 9. It's not called C9 because there's no 7 present, just in case you're wondering. Now here, I'm allowing myself pretty much to play 5 strings, okay? The low E string is being kept quiet. And that's happening in 2 ways. Number 1, my thumb is over the top and keeping the low E string quiet. Number 2, the tip of the finger playing the C note on the A string is just about touching the E string as well, so that helps. That idea of the tip of one finger coming over and touching another string is important. That works really well an awful lot of the time. 7 raised 9 chord, the Jimi Hendrix chord. Here, this is D 7 raised 9. I'm on the 5th fret. I'm only playing 4 strings. In fact, that third is a little bit quiet. I really need to get that finger over more. The high E string is being muted by this part of my little finger and by this part of my index finger. So it's being muted in 2 places back here. The low E string is being muted by the tip of my middle finger, which is on the A string. And that allows me with this hand to strum as much as I like. And the 2 E strings never play. All right, that's really useful. Again, for the dominant 9 chord, same thing. Here I can flatten the little finger, which allows me to control the high E string, or not, as I wish. And the low E string is being kept quiet by a combination of the tip of this finger and the thumb. Let's look at I used to call this the Quincy Jones chord. This is the dominant 11. What a beautiful chord. Which looks like a G major triad here, but with an A note in the bass. Again, I only want to play 4 strings, and a lot of the sort of, if you like, the jazz or blues chord voicings are 4 notes. There's a reason why we see string quartets as often as we do instead of quintets or septets or trios. 4 works really well. 4 is a great number, and the same is true on the guitar. We can get an awful lot of good chord information into just 4 notes. Okay, so here's my dominant 11 chord. And again, I'm only playing 4 strings, okay? Here the E string is being played by the ring finger, which is muting the A string for me. A string isn't going anywhere. All right, these 4 guys are not interfering with each other in any way, so that's all great. The high E string, I can feel it when I do this. I can feel exactly where it's touching, and it's touching here on my ring finger, just ahead of my ring, and it's touching this part of my index finger too, okay? Learning to keep things quiet like that is a really important part of playing the guitar, and as I said when we started, there's no 2 ways about this. Nobody has your fingers. Nobody has your fingers and your guitar with your strings. Our neck widths change, just fingerboard radius changes, the size of the guitar neck changes, what our hands can do, as I said, what our hands can do changes too. You know, my fingers don't have any double jointedness. They don't go backwards at all. Other people's do. Some people's joints kind of lock and it gets awkward for them. You've got to figure this stuff out because nobody can tell you how your hands work. You have to spend the time with the guitar listening carefully. Remember, as I said, close your eyes. Ask yourself, am I hearing what I'm supposed to? When you learn a new chord shape, play 1 string at a time. So you hear what it's supposed to sound like. You get a chance to hear the chord as it's supposed to be played. You can identify any problems if any of the notes are gone missing. All right? I think that's pretty much it. Yeah, the answer to the question, and therefore in brief, is you've got to figure it out. Part of it is this hand. being very careful muting strings. Part of it is this hand. There is one exercise that I like to do, and it's a useful technique in some of our guitar playing anyway. So here I'm playing a note on the D string and a note on the B string on the same fret. And I want to keep everything else quiet. And I can strum across all 6 strings and I'm only hearing 2 notes. Clearly the E string is being muted back here. And you can see my index finger is stretching over and keeping everything else quiet. In this particular position, the G string, which is in between these 2 fingers, that can very often be muted quite naturally by either of these 2 fingers. In this case too, though, I'm very close to a harmonic node point, and this finger coming over and staying flat really helps a lot as well. When we play with the distorted guitar sound, it makes a lot of the background noise seem louder and come up more, and then we have to be careful about finger noise. So playing and practicing with distortion can be useful from that point of view. Let me switch this on. All right, how's this? Getting used to that kind of idea. You see? There's another chord shape again. I'm looking at 2 notes on the D string and the B string, but they're on different frets. To be able to keep all the other 4 strings quiet, everything comes into play. Okay, so my thumb is doing the low E string. The tip of this finger is taking care of the A string. That finger can even come over and keep the A string quiet too. The G string is being kept quiet by this finger and the tip of that one, and the high E string is being kept quiet in here. And part of the job is here too. I don't need to strum across all 6 strings to play loudly, so I can quite happily just target these 2 strings. And as long as the A string and the E string are not unmuted over here, I'm going to be okay, you know. The thumb quite easily comes over and takes care of the low E string. All right. Is that useful? If you have any questions or comments, if I confused you in any way, or I said something stupid and inserted the wrong word instead, well, you know, leave a dog in the comment box below, and I'll give you a kitten anytime you like, as soon as I have the chance. There you go. Thanks so much for watching. Stay tuned. I'm going to try and get more and more videos done as much as I can, and some of them are going to be like this, messy in one take, and there's not going to be much we can do about it. But that's just the way things go because life is busy, and I'd like it to be different and be able to sit here and do YouTube videos for you all day long. I'm not somebody who thinks I'm going to make money out of YouTube videos. I just don't have that kind of time. I'm too busy. I got a kid. I got to teach. I want to play the guitar. Darn it. I want to spend too much time doing YouTube videos. But I like doing this. This is great. So bring me the questions, and I'll get to them whenever I can, okay? Keep them coming, though. It's all good. If you like the video, tell your friends. If you didn't like the video, go talk to the wall. And press the comment button and the like button and the subscribe button and all the good, you know all the buttons. Press all the good buttons that you feel like you should be pressing right now. Thank you so much for watching. Take care of yourself. Remember, play, 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 play. Just keep practicing. That's all you got to do. Just keep at it. It'll come. Keep at it. Listen to what you're playing. Find out where you suck. Spend more time doing the things that you suck at. You'll get better at them. Okay? It's that easy. There's no natural talent in playing the guitar. It's just a matter of time. Put the time in. You'll get better. I promise. Okay? Take care. Bye. Okie dokie.